Hey y'all, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank and I'm here with Jonathan.
Well, hello.
And we've got Thomas with us.
Aloha, everybody.
We are finally back in the studios after 3 weeks of live shows. They are a blast, but there's one thing for sure is they're exhausting, right, Jonathan?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Had a bunch of fun with them though. So a couple things we got going on in this episode. We're going to be talking about, the Peacemaker castings, the Bear, all kinds of cool stuff. But one of the things I want to make sure to mention is we're going to try something new on this one. As we're going, I'm going to pick Jonathan to do this one because I think it'd be fun for Jonathan to do it. We're going to see if Jonathan remembers everything we talk about and do a pop quiz at the end.
Oh, God.
If he can answer all 5 questions I got for him, and if he nails them all, we're going to give away one of our mugs to somebody on social media. So
I'm sorry, guys. Nobody's getting mugged. All right.
Dude, it's the cool mug too with Hawkman on there.
My memory is like a water bucket that's just riddled with holes at the bottom. I don't keep anything in there.
If he picked me, it would have been like, putting a fish in like a bowl that was empty with no water too. So I feel you.
Nice.
I already know what the questions are too, so I'm excited to go through them and be like, I hope he's paid attention to this.
Oh my God.
Terrible.
All right. So let's first start off with some engagement. We had a question over on Threads. We put it on everything, but Threads is so hot, guys. So the question is, who would win in a fight, Green Lantern versus Doctor Strange? I thought this was going to be a pretty close one, right? Green Lantern could basically use anything as long as he has the will to power behind it. So I thought it was going to be pretty close. Thomas, let's go with you first. Who are you picking on this fight?
I know the online consensus said Doctor Strange. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, he's got magic. He's got all of the Camartage force, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go with Green Lantern.
Okay.
I think the ability to imagine anything, especially Hal Jordan, my favorite is Kyle Rayner, but I think he can make anything. Doctor Strange can almost make anything too, but like Green Lantern, just the will. You know, if he can beat like the will of Doctor Strange, I think he has a chance. So I'm gonna be countered to the internet and say Green Lantern.
What do you think, Jonathan?
So to get technical, of course, I would say it depends.
Is there any other way?
Right. Depends on what kind of backup they have. The Green Lantern, as far as we know, in every version of himself, can call upon the Green Lantern Corps to support him. Doctor Strange only, like, I think now, I don't remember it being known in the past that he had access to the multiverse. So that's the big question is, does Doctor Strange have access to the other Stranges of the multiverse to back him up, or the other Marvel cast?
Yeah, that would be so OP if he did that. But I would say he was able to bring on the other Wizards of Earth.
Avengers.
Of Camartage and everything?
Yeah, I would say that. Like, if you were to make it a fair fight, like they have their cores each, in that case, I would give it to the Green Lantern Corps for sure. Yeah. Because as a whole, I think they're stronger. But yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
There's also this level of morality they hold and the other wizards hold, but not Strange himself. I think he very much teeters on that brink of immoral, and we see it in the what ifs and stuff too. So I think just like with that element alone, one-on-one even, I think, Green Lantern would have to in the writing of the story have to win. Doctor Strange.
Yeah, because I could never imagine like Hal Jordan specifically ever not being the moral upper ground. He's such a Boy Scout, so I can see that for sure.
That's true, but he can make Godzilla. So I mean, that's pretty badass. I don't know how you
just throw
stop
Godzilla
that.
into this fight. Might as well.
Right.
And then taking the fight to space too. That's always been my Green Lantern defense thing. It's like can Doctor Strange fight in space? Because Green Lantern can. And so if he could just like put him in a green bubble, toss his ass up into the sky, he's got him.
Yeah.
And so I think
but
that
Doctor Strange can trap him in an illusion too, right? To where he thinks he's anywhere else.
That's fair.
That whole psychosis, mental manipulation. So it would definitely be a challenge. But I think it'd be a good
closer fight than people were saying online. So when we had the votes up there, Doctor Strange won 76% to 24% in our polls. I think it's a closer fight. I think Green Lantern deserves a little bit more respect than that.
I think those ratings reflect the quality of the movies we've seen recently too. We haven't seen a good Green Lantern movie in
That's right.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was thinking too. I was like, because Doctor Strange has awesome movies, and Green Lantern had one really crappy one in live action.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, let's head on to some quick network news. First off, if you're a Patreon member, we're bringing back giveaways. We're going to be restructuring our Patreon a little bit, kind of cleaning it up a little bit. Me and Jonathan have been talking about different rewards and stuff like that we could be doing. So this month's Patreon giveaway will be picked at the end of the month, as per usual, and we're going to be giving away a Yeti Snowball. It is the perfect mic if you're thinking about starting your own podcast. It's the best starter mic, in my opinion. It's always the one I suggest to everybody. We're going to be giving that away to one of our Patreon members. We're just going to pick one at random. And so even if you're a $1 member, you're in for the giveaway. Check it out, guys. That's over on Patreon. We also have bonus episodes releasing all over the time. And again, we're restructuring all of Patreon as a whole, and we really appreciate it. Also, over at Challenge Accepted, we have 2 very cool episodes coming up. So we have the X-Men 97 finale. We'll release that episode. We're also going to do a watch party for that. That'll be on Friday. So join us for that. I'll have all the description, all the details in the description. That's what I'm looking for. Should be a blast. And then what we're going to announce right now is I was going to challenge Thomas to Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This guy's like never watched the show, guys. It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
I've watched 3 episodes at least. Okay,
That's not enough. So I've got 3 more episodes for you to watch. And I even talked to Jonathan. I'm like, I need help trying to find the right episodes. I racked my brain over this, guys. So the 3 episodes you're going to be watching is, and I'll send you these so you don't have to memorize it now, but season 4, episode 2, the gang solves the gas crisis.
Gas crisis, yeah.
Thank you. Next one, Jonathan's pick. Season 7, episode 7, Charlie McDennis, The Game of Games. I mean, what a good episode.
Such a good one.
Yeah. And then season 12, episode 2, The Gang Goes to the Water Park, which is one of my personal favorite episodes. And I think that's just a fun one. So those are the 3 episodes you're going to be watching. I'll send you this list. I'll send a picture of it to you. And then check that out, guys. We're going to see what Thomas thinks of. If we could get him, we could make him a super fan. I think we can. That'll be fun.
I'm there. I love Rob McElhenney. I mean, I love what he's doing at Wrexham. So
yeah,
let's go. I like Mythic Quest too. So I don't know.
That's insane to me that you've watched Mythic Quest and Wrexham and not Always Sunny.
I know. I don't know.
Oh
yeah. Blame my parents. I have no idea.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to the news. John, you want to take it away?
Yes, totally. Jumping into the news, we have a Fantastic Four announcement. Did you guys hear that John Malkovich, I was trying to say McElhenney again all of a sudden. John Malkovich is going to be playing in the Fantastic Four, but we don't know yet what character he's going to be. But he's such a great actor. Like, pretty much he could pick whoever he wants to be, I think, the Fantastic Four. But have you guys, I was thinking about it. I was actually doing some Googling of characters in Fantastic Four, but I'm going to ask you guys first if you have any idea who you think he should play.
I don't know. What do you think,
Yeah.
Thomas?
I know that there's been so many different things thrown out there. We've seen he could easily be a villain, right? He could easily be a nihilist, or he can be, and I'll be straight up, like, I'm not like a massive wealth of knowledge when it comes to the Fantastic Four, but I do love that family. I do respect them. So I'm not sure of all the villains. I've seen also rumors from Molecule Man, and the Molecule Man has a big place when it comes to Jonathan Hickman's, Secret Wars? So maybe that's it. But there is a part of me that thinks maybe they're going to go the Bill Murray route, and he's just going to be this one-off character that's really fun and really wild and kooky. So there's that part too. My last one I'll throw out there, though, is Herbie, which is the robot that we saw in the picture for the announcement.
Oh, he could be the voice for Herbie. Ooh.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. Those are some of the options that I think he could possibly play.
I like that, though. But his voice is so iconic at this point. Matt Berry, I think, would be really good at Herbie.
Oh, God. Yeah. Matt Berry for every
New York
robot.
City.
Yeah. I'm a brand, you're a brand, we're all brands.
For John Malkovich, I want him to be the president. So we're talking about like a 1960s America. We see that on the thing is reading about Ike becoming president. He could be President Ike. And I think John Malkovich has like a good, crisis talking to America through the camera kind of thing. Like he would be really good at that. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling that we're going to see Fantastic Four lose this fight and have to escape to another dimension or another universe, essentially, right? And John Malkovich kind of giving that final speech, like America fought the good fight, Earth is seeing its last days and stuff like that Independence Day speech. Mm-hmm. I want to see that. So I think president would be cool.
Nice. I'm thinking I'd like him for a villain. He's a great actor. He could play anybody, but I want to see him in a villain role. The one that I found online that I think would be best for him is the Puppet Master, where he has this some kind of magical whatever control over clay and is able to make like what are those called, like voodoo dolls, I think, pretty much of the characters, and then controls them. Because we were just talking, Frank, not so long ago about Jessica Jones and Kilgrave, and how we want to see him back in some other capacity or a different character with a similar power. Like, bam, Puppet Master is a very similar power to that, and that'd be pretty cool. But I don't want him to be a villain to the extent that he's gonna live and die and be out by the next movie. He's such a great actor. I want him to be like a part of the MCU for the next 15 years. So it'd be great if we could find a way to keep him in there.
Well said. I think if he's the Molecule Man, we'll see him again. So if that is the case, I don't know, but the Molecule Man is mad OP. So I don't know, but I'm kind of cool with having John Malkovich be in multiple movies, as you're saying. So yeah.
So we also heard that Ralph Inessen's going to be Galactus.
Yeah, so we have that. I mean, we were hoping for Giancarlo Esposito on that, but no. Yeah, it's gonna be Ralph. Ralph's definitely got the voice for it. I like him a lot in the ballot. I mean, he's barely in it, but the Buster Scruggs movie, he's the sheriff that's arresting James Franco, and he just has that good kind of gruff voice, and making that the guy that's going to be telling you like, I'm about to eat your planet. That's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. Is he in Diablo 4 as well?
Definitely could be. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's his voice. And every time I'm like, God, I need subtitles. Like, this sounds eerie and epic, but I don't always know what he's saying because it's so deep. But he's going to be an insane Galactus. I think he's going to kill it.
And so that brings us back. If Giancarlo Esposito is not going to play Galactus, Thomas, do you have any recommendation of who you think he should play?
I know the internet's going wild with Professor X, and like I'm not against it. I'm for it. Like I would dig it. I think he'd be an amazing Professor X. But I don't know. I don't think that's the route they're going, especially with the reception of X-Men 97. I don't know if that's the route they will go. But I will say, anything Giancarlo Esposito's in, like I already am on board because I love that dude as an actor. I think he's fantastic. So I don't know. Wherever he goes, I'm happy with it.
Just to jump in, he is Lorathar in Diablo 4.
Yeah,
so that's great. Now I could really picture that voice. That's good choice.
It kind of looks like him in the game too.
Yeah, I could see that. That's okay. Yeah, I don't know what Giancarlo is gonna do, but Annihilus again. When you said Annihilus, I was like, oh, that is one untapped badass. He brings an army with him, so that's not a bad choice. But yeah, pretty much anything he's gonna do, I know I'm gonna be rooting for it.
Can I throw something wild out there? What if John Malkovich, Mole Man? Would you guys be on board with that?
Yeah, I think it might be Straw Hat Goofy or somebody's like really pitching Mole Man, and it's like. It would be really good. It's the exact same thing as like the Mole Man from Incredibles, where he's just like a bad guy that like allows smoke him, but he keeps coming back, kind of thing. That would be fun. And John Malkovich in Space Force is very lighthearted and stuff. It's like you can see that personality coming through. I'd be down for that.
With that Russian accent from Rounders, is it?
Rounders, yeah. I just saw an interview with Matt Damon where he was like, yeah, because they're like, so what's the deal with, he's like, people quote him all the time of that, like,
don't splash the pot. Yeah, exactly.
And so he was saying, he was like, yeah, we were all excited to have, like, we had no budget on that movie. We're all excited to have John Malkovich join us. And then he comes off this insane accent and nobody in the room's like, we're not going to tell John Malkovich what to do. We're just happy to have his name part of this movie. So they just like let him have fun with it. And then but Matt Damon, who was kind of new to acting, was like, what the fuck? And so like later on in the filming
of the movie now.
Yeah, and later on in the movie, Malkovich leans over to him and says like, "I'm really pretty bad at this." Like joking around, that was like, nobody's gonna tell me to stop, so I'm just gonna keep fucking around.
Oh my god!
And now it's one of my favorite people in that movie, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
All right, in other news, I don't know if you guys know, but season 3 of The Bear is going to be released June 27th.
Yeah,
have you guys been keeping up with The Bear?
Hell yeah, I have been.
Oh my god!
I started the first season and I don't know, I didn't get really hooked on it, but I need to give it another shot. If they got 3 seasons, it must be doing pretty good. And I like the cast too. That's what gets me, is it's a pretty darn good cast.
Dude,
It
this
absolutely is.
cast is blown up. I mean, whether it's Jeremy Allen White or Aban Mas Backrack, which we were just talking about Fantastic Four, like the cast is stellar and it is rough around the edges. Like there's no doubt about that. It's not a show that I can watch with my wife. One of my friends who's worked in the culinary industry, he can't watch it. It kind of gives him like PTSD, which I get because
I
it's
understand it.
stressful AF. But it is so good for what it does for these characters and stories. And like every time you think they're safe, and no one's gonna die per se, but every time you think they're safe, they're not. It kind of almost gives you that feeling like you're watching an Ozarks or you're watching a Breaking Bad, but it is about a restaurant. And so, dude, it is so intense. I want to say it was my top show of last year, season 2 or 2 years ago. Either way, I just love that show so much. I'm like blown away by every episode, and last season was no exception.
I will say that I went and watched it with the parents because sometimes it's hard to find something to do when I'm visiting them. So we usually watch TV, and that was one of the things my dad's like, I can't watch this show. Everybody's so high tense. It's the anxiety's going through the roof. I can't watch this show. So he like bounced. He had to like get out of the room for it. And I think that's something that people need to be aware of before they go start watching it. And I could see like, I know Susan's not a big fan of that kind of like the suspense stuff. And I think that might not sit well with her.
Yeah. But it's funny, like the people who do get into it, like if you can get through some of those moments and you start like seeing who the characters are and like why they're doing the things they do, which they explore a lot in season 2, it makes it worth it when you get to those moments and you're like, how the hell are they going to get out of this spot?
Yeah.
And then they do and you're like, yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's totally worth the watch, guys. Make sure you do it. Any more, Jonathan?
We had one other one.
Hiroyuki Sanada?
Let's have Jonathan finish this. I'm an editor on all this, by the way.
Okay.
Jonathan, do you want to finish yours, and then we'll move on to the
Frank-
Sonata.
Is it Grillo?
Grillo.
Frank Grillo?
Grillo.
Or
Just say Grillo.
Grillo. Okay.
Grillo, yeah.
That's what I was actually trying to Google. My internet started like bogging down like because I was trying to Google how do you pronounce his last
How
name.
do I say this?
Because like if he's Hispanic, then it'd be Grillo. But
I knew you were doing something because your camera completely stopped. So we're like, ah, shit.
I'm like, great. Close that tab real quick. All right, guys. Well, in other news, I don't know if you guys have heard, but Frank Grillo joins season 2 of DC's Peacemaker. Have you guys been watching Peacemaker?
Peacemaker's fantastic. You should watch it, actually.
That's another one that's just kind of like not on my radar for some reason.
But have you started it?
Most DC
Okay.
stuff's not on my radar though, honestly, these days.
This is like the only thing that's surviving the shift to DCU.
Okay.
So that shows you. First off, James Gunn made both of them, so that's amazing. It is totally worth your watch, Jonathan. It's fantastic. And I want to give a quick shout out to Frank here because it's the same actor that's going to be playing Rick Flag Sr. in Creature Commandos, and it's something that James Gunn said early on is that like if somebody plays a character, they're going to play that character in the animated versions and the sequels and the spin-offs. It's creating a cohesive
games.
multiverse. Yeah, in the video games too. I really like that idea.
That's smart, yeah.
Yeah.
And be, like we've seen some stuff before where they cross the stories over into like comic books and stuff like that. Like go multi-platform, why not? I mean, don't do like Disney's trying to do sometimes and make the story dependent on people following it to different platforms.
Yes.
People don't want to watch a movie and not know about the characters because it was in a TV show that they didn't want to subscribe to. So yeah, don't make it dependent, but all these little offshoot branches can easily be side stories that stem from, the mainstream movies.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said. Definitely. I think he's a fantastic actor. I mean, what he did with his character in the MCU, all that, he's become a pretty big star in his own right. But going from Creature Commandos, now live action, and then also getting to close the loop on what happened with Rick Flag, I think is really sick. Because we saw what happened in the Suicide Squad with the Rick Flag that we had been following, which was very devastating. Also really ties into Peacemaker. John, you got to watch this. Come on. But like, it was
There's
so...
There's so many shows I have to watch, though. I have a list on my phone in my notes tab, and I've only gotten through like 3 of them. So like, I'm sure you guys text
the list
me.
is 50 long, and you got through 3.
Yeah, right.
I'm writing it down to text you this, Jonathan, because you're saying I know what you're about to say. I'm writing it down.
Text me any show or movie or whatever you guys want me to watch. I'll at least add it to the list. So when I'm bored, I know what to look for. Which I'm a dad and a husband, and got plenty of other hobbies I have started. So I'm rarely bored, but if I do
Yeah.
get there, I'll have something to watch.
One day.
To remember, this is Rick Flag Senior. So those who are confused at home, this is the dad to the Rick Flag that you saw in Suicide Squad. So there'll be a lot of questions to be asking of Peacemaker.
Nice.
Yep, absolutely. I'm forgetting what that actor's name is, but he's for All Mankind too, as well, who played
Yeah,
Rick Flag.
Altered Carbon for Jonathan. Yeah, remember
Altered
Altered
Carbon?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Such a good
he's
show.
that guy's dad. So
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it's gonna be really good. Again, continuity too. Bring an actor from one project to another is just gonna really allow people to envision that person as that character wherever they go in the DCU. So man, I think it's such a great choice.
Well said. I think one of the benefits, and we're going to talk about it here in a little bit when we talk about Superman, is I think what Gunn is trying to do with the DCU is make it feel lived in, which is something I think Marvel doesn't do super well. Like in Marvel, superheroes for some reason feel like they're so new. I mean, Eternals is the best example of this. Like, why are we not talking about Time Met? It's this gigantic whatever that's hanging out in the ocean. It doesn't feel real. And Iron Man made it feel more grounded, but not, still new. I want DC to master this idea, like everything's lived in, everything's real. The Flash Museum is such a good example of how that would exist. And so you could have all those superheroes flying around, but also it's just like, yeah, but I also got to go to work today. I just drive by the Flash Museum and then, oh, there's Arrow doing some shit, whatever. Like, I think there's a good combo they could do there.
So since we're on the topic of DC, we might as well jump into the new update from Superman. Have you guys seen the I guess, was it
Yeah, the
teaser
first image. First
images,
it's
yeah,
by James Gunn.
of David Cornsweat as Superman. I think that looks good. And I saw a TikTok. It might have been yours, Frank. I don't know. Breaking down how it's going to be a more grounded, down to earth Superman that has real day to day problems like we have.
Yeah.
I think that's so smart for DC to kind of make it that shift because they've been these untouchable gods for so long, and there's so much glimmer and shine in the camera and stuff. It's been played out, and obviously it's not doing great for DC. So changing it and going to a whole different perspective where they're day-to-day heroes who may be heartbroken because their girlfriend just broke up with them, whatever, but I still got to stop this guy from jumping off a bridge. Whatever it is, like, I think that'd be cool. Kind of more of a Spider-Man world of the MCU, kind of bring it down to earth a little bit. I think that'll be a good shift to see in DC. But I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you guys
think? What do you think about this image, Thomas?
Yeah, I think it looks great. It was funny because it looks epic. The suit, so many people were judging the suit already, and it's like it's too soon to tell. Is this the image we're talking about? We want him sitting down, putting on the boots. Okay, it's too soon to tell. People, he's sitting in a chair, he's squatting over, he's putting on a boot. People are like, it looks terrible. It looks this. It's like wait till the guy moves around in it. Wait till we see it with full CGI. Wait till the dude's at least standing before we judge it here. Like, I think it's hilarious. The only thing that I did think that was kind of funny about the picture was that blast of light, that beam of light that's shooting into the city, and he's just like, okay, time to put on my boots.
But
like,
it's so humanizing for him, right? Like he puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like we do. He's he's beat up, he's worn down, he's tired. He's like, son of a bitch! But look at that giant fucking alien thing that's destroying the city. I just
really
got my
like
boots
that.
off. I just had one beer. I was ready to lay down, and this thing came. So it's like,
man.
I think that, and he's already war torn. He's dirty. He's tattered. Yeah,
Jonathan, I know you're not a social media guy. I can't tell you how much you just fucking undid a pile of comments I'm dealing with on TikTok and Threads right now.
yeah, that's the kind of comments we need in the comment section.
Exactly. So many people see that expression on Superman and assume it's that he doesn't care anymore, or that he's like upset with the situation or something like that. I like the idea of it being humanizing. And okay, because one of the things I noted in the TikTok video that I was talking about is you see the battle worn damage on his chest. And I was like, oh, this Superman's been fighting a lot. It makes a lot of sense that he just got back and took his shoes off and he has to go back out there. I like the humanized, like, oh man, they called me into work kind of thing again.
Yeah.
But not so much as in I hate my job, but as in these guys don't stop attacking my city. I like that,
right.
Jonathan. Good job.
Yeah, good perspective. I really like that too. That changed my whole criticism. So, thanks for making me look stupid. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
One of the things that nobody's talking about that I like to mention is the walls that he's around, and that the framing of that window is very Superman animated series look to me, and it's the green tones and the kind of like almost like a Metropolis, but like the Metropolis art style, almost like a Gotham in sunlight. I'm saying things that just explain Superman, actually, and I'm saying it.
yeah.
But that
let
apartment
me name
looks like
this
that.
City, let me
Art
name the
Deco, is that what it's
building.
called?
Yeah.
Art Deco, but like a shiny Art Deco. So not like the
Yeah.
dark Art Deco that we expect from Gotham, but the shiny version of it, which is what this is looking like. His apartment building specifically.
Yeah, but like I think that's a good call out because when we talk about Batman the animated series, for example, like that Gotham had the red sky and it had a very like specific style. And you're right, this Superman image does kind of look like Superman the animated series, and just the style of it all. So it is cool to take inspiration from that. And also like I think James Gunn has seen probably what works well with Superman, at least in recent years. And if you've not gone back and watched Superman and Lois, which Ranker had up there, like when you talk about feel good shows where we have The Office, we have Friends, we have that, Superman and Lois was in the top 5. And like that is like a really good show. And talk about humanizing Superman. Well, I think that show did a fantastic job of showing him as an everyday person, as a father, as just a guy that's in Smallville. Like if they can bring some of that element to this David Cornsweat's version, damn, is it gonna like really find this nice niche that I'm gonna appreciate about Superman?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a little too early to judge, but at first impressions, I like the colors, I like the look. I definitely want to know more about his expression. I think there might have been a little bit too much weight everybody's putting on that in general, but we're putting weight on it, so yeah.
Yeah.
Thomas, do you want to take the lead on the Shogun one now?
Yeah, so let's jump into it. We got some news because Shogun ended, and we thought that was it. We heard limited series for FX, but we got some news this past week that Hiroyuki Sanada is now set to return for a possible season 2 of Shogun, which is crazy. What
That
did
is
you guys think about this? I know, Frank.
Okay, so here's the thing: is like it's based off a story that's already done. Like everything's already done. Like you can't do. You're not adapting anything else.
Yeah, it's a book.
Yeah, but I loved that show until the last 15 minutes of it. Then I was very upset, and I know I'm in the minority on that. It's like you and Dune too, but
True.
so because I was like, okay, so he's executing this guy, yada yada yada. I'm not too many spoilers, but I'm not gonna say which guy. But then he kind of explains the path forward, and I'm like, don't explain the path forward, show it to me. This is the final episode. I want 3 more of you being on that field and stuff. And so I think they're gonna show us now, and I personally think that's probably for the best as a story as a whole, than just being like, I promise we're going to do good from here on out. And I saw so many people think like, oh, that's how Game of Thrones should have ended, with them just explaining what was going to happen. Like that disagree completely.
Yeah, I will say that was my one downside. And granted, I know it'll probably take a ton of heat for this, but because a lot of people are like, that's the best show I've ever seen. Perfect show. And I love that they kind of end capped it. Like this is going to get one season only. And I thought they did a fantastic job. But I would have liked to see the battle. Like, I know that we got it described, but like, show me at least 5 minutes of the battle. Like, I know he's going to win, but still, I want to see some like action here. So I do kind of want to see more of that happen, which would be great.
Yeah. I think it's going to be good. I think the way that they were like, hey, we're just going to use Japanese. We're not going to translate it for you guys. Like, it would have been so easy because it's made by, Disney, essentially, to just be like, speak English. Look like you're from Japan, but speak English. But they didn't do that. They're like, hey, it's a Japanese. And I ended up watching it in both. And then by the end of the show, I just watched it dubbed the whole time. But I watched it both ways for the most part. And yeah, it was cool to learn new things. I was constantly Googling, like, why do they do the haircut? Why do they do this? Why do they do that while I'm watching it? and it was historically accurate enough for that to be interesting and to learn more about it and stuff like that. Yeah.
Totally. Fun fact on the subtitles. So they had all the writers write it in English, then it got sent to a Japanese translator. Then that translation had to go to a historian of that time period. Now, that translation then went back to the writers, and those were the subtitles they used, or that had to be translated back into English. And so from the historian, that's the subtitles that made it on the show. So there was like 6 steps for us to get the subtitles that we got on the FX Hulu show.
Okay. So it's the most accurate version possible historically.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, damn, that is so impressive. And most shows will barely give you the right subtitles, let alone go through that many steps.
Yeah. One thing I do like that kind of shows a smart move is FX, Hulu and Disney are like, this is a surprise hit. Let's make more of these. And before they even start putting pen to paper, they're like, we need to make sure we get Sonata back. If we don't have him, this isn't a show. So they signed him up before they even do anything else. So that's they keep saying like potential second season, because literally the first step was like, we have to have the main character back or else we can't do this. That's
totally.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. I still want him in Star Wars, though. I will say it. He said he wanted to be in Star Wars. I want him in Star Wars.
He'd be great Jedi. He'd be fantastic Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. John, did you have a chance to watch Shogun yet?
I did. I tried it. I tried watching it on my phone, and then I realized so much of it was going to be in subtitles, which is harder to read on my phone. Plus, I'm honestly a slow reader, so any subtitles is challenging in the first place. But yeah, I got to find it dubbed like you're saying.
It's not a laundry show. I will say that. Like, if you're doing laundry or you're checking your phone and watching it, like, you're going to miss so much.
Yeah, while Peacemaker, I think you could watch on your phone comfortably. Mm-hmm. This, not so much. So I would wait until sometime when you have like maybe Susan takes Marco to the whatever to vacation, whatever, and you're like, all right, good, let's get some beers and soak up Japanese,
history for sure.
So I don't know if this is probably not breaking news. I'm sure this article is pretty old by now. I never see current events, but a show that you guys might not have heard about, I guess. The Office is coming back. There's going to be a reboot of The Office. I see now it's May 9th. I'm kind of excited about that. Leery, worried, it might be terrible, but hopefully it's really good. That'd be cool.
What the big news of the week from that is the fact that it's going to be set in a dying newspaper, which I think is such a good place to put it, where the boss is like super stressed about like, we got to get people to sell newspaper, buy newspapers, whatever. I think that's a good fit. It's not going to be a 1-for-1 remake. We talked about this before, John, with them trying to find their new Michael Scott and who could be a new Michael Scott and stuff like that. Yeah. But this is going to be a good fit, I think.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I was literally just talking about this today, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need this to be exactly like the original Office. Like, it's never going to be that good for me. The original was too perfect. Steve Carell, too good. John Krasinski, that whole cast is incredible. Yeah. But if it's half as good as that, with this whole premise of a dying newspaper, with the original creator coming back and like giving some of that vibe, like, I'm on board. I'll check it out. Like,
that's where it's at. Just have the same team that wrote and put it together. That level of comedy and that awkward like sense of humor that was just always kind of quiet air every once in a while, and just like smirking at the camera. Like, it was just so funny naturally. It was just the awkward situation. So.
Kind of the Parks and Rec was able to successfully duplicate it. They ended up making it more comical, but it's the same team basically that made both. So I'm cool with that. Mm-hmm. The next thing I want to make sure we talk about is Marvel. Bob Iger had an earnings call and revealed essentially the release plans going forward on Marvel. So I wanted to touch on those and then revisit the actual timeline. There's an official timeline now, according to Disney Plus, and kind of see where we could fit Fantastic Four in that. So. All right, let's look at what Bob Iger said. He said that they're going to be releasing now no more than, so on average, 2 movies per year, no more than 3. Trying to reduce them because they were doing 4 movies per year for Marvel, which I remember those days. It was way too much. That's when we were getting like, Wakanda Forever followed this one. It was too many things. Yeah, and then for the shows, no more than 2 shows per year. So that I think. Let's get some more Star Wars or I don't know, some original content, I guess, on Disney Plus would be nice.
Yeah, I think that's great because it builds a little bit of hype. I'm not sure what the recipe was before WandaVision, but I remember there was a lot of hype before it came out. And then when it was finally airing, each episode you're watching it, you're stoked to see it. And even I had a couple coworkers at work that were watching it, and we didn't talk except for, once a week. It was like, hey, did you guys see the new WandaVision? Yeah, what do you think about this? Like,
Yes.
Quicksilver, what the heck's going on? Like, so it was just there was so much hype behind it, but now we see all these shows and movies coming out too fast, I think. And we're gonna get diabetes with all this candy. We gotta slow it down. As much as we enjoy it, it doesn't make you appreciate it as much when they're turning it out fast. And they must be seeing that in their numbers, that they're giving us everything we want and more. And then we're just like, well, that was cool. What's next? So I think slowing it down builds some anticipation for it. And like you're saying, have some more Star Wars stuff coming out in between, or they have all kinds of different IP they could be leaning back and forth into.
It doesn't even need to be IP too. They could just create a new thing, which Disney's not.
Hasn't been done in a while.
Disney Plus is like not interested in that idea. Everything's related to something they've already made, which of course we're going to consume it because of course. But it doesn't hurt. Like I haven't watched it. It's on my watch list. We're talking about everybody's watch list. It's on mine.
Yeah.
But I'll say Blue Samurai. I know. I was a big fan.
Samurai?
Yeah, Blue Eyed Samurai. That's what I meant. Yeah. But that's a totally like original idea. And Thomas is like, it's one of the best anime ever. And it's like, okay, then I need to see it.
Incredible. Like, top 3 show, maybe right behind The Bear. It was so damn good. But yes, you're right. Disney hasn't made anything truly original that I can remember in recent years that's like, damn, that was so good. I mean, I think of Encanto as like the last thing,
That's true. That was a hit though too, because nobody's had anything fresh in a long time, and that one came out and it was a blast.
For sure.
But specifically for Disney Plus, right? Disney Plus specifically is only making content related to other content.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with Bob Iger in this point. I think he knew that Disney Plus was coming, and then he handed it over to Bob Chapek, and Bob Chapek was like, well, we need to populate Disney Plus, get Marvel going. Right. And Marvel has now seen, and now that Bob Iger is back, that has diluted the brand, it's diluted the quality. Like, there is too much of a good thing. And truthfully, like, not everything has been as fantastic as it was before because we're not expecting it like an event. And also, like, the guy in charge is too spread thin, I think. I don't know if that's true. He hasn't said it, but I can imagine Kevin Feige going and having to manage like 6 projects a year as opposed to 3 is way more stretched thin. So I think it's such a good idea. I want Marvel television to be an event again. I feel like X-Men 97 has showed us that this is such an event. The online discourse around X-Men 97 has been fantastic. I cannot even imagine a world where Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't do the same thing. Like, it's going to be just fire this year for Marvel. And it's like, why would they change it? Like, they just keep it going. I'm going to buy all the toys. I'll buy all the shirts. Like, I'm going to keep doing these things. There you go. Like Frank's wearing the shirt. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, just let us sit in this greatness for a little bit longer rather than being forced to jump onto the next thing and it not being as good as the last thing that came out or whatever, or the next thing.
And I think we benefit a lot from that focus on quality over quantity. And to the company, to Disney, they probably were calculating it out like, oh, if we just turn out enough, people are going to eat it all up. We're going to make a ton of money. But it might be like you're saying, you own all the X-Men shirts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it might be in the long run that they turn out all these movies like, Wish. I don't know anybody who's seen the movie Wish, and they have a ton of shirts and plush and dresses and all the merchandise to go along with it, and it's not going to sell. While we'll still buy X-Men stuff from 20 years ago, but we won't buy something that came out that they just rushed and wasn't worth our time. So I think that hopefully from that they're realizing like, hey, slow down, make 1-2 really good movies in a year, and that merchandise alone can sustain you going forward.
You know who had a late afternoon fucking Starbucks is Jonathan. That guy's firing on all cylinders today.
It's been a long day.
I never thought about the merch overload coming from Marvel. Damn.
Yeah, I was like, dang, that was such a good point. I was like, oh shit, I didn't.
We're not sponsored, but it's a late afternoon Bud Light Platinum.
There you go. Yeah,
Bud Light Platinum. Hey, I will be sponsored by those guys. I don't mind it. So
I'll take it too.
Iger mentioned that they want to get back to the 2010 days, and Jonathan's statement doubles down on this idea. He says, like, they were making money off of putting out 4 movies. They were making plenty of money off of it. You know, yeah, you put this much in, but you make more out of it, yada, yada, yada. But if they do 2 movies per year, they're blockbusters. They're an event. They could sell the merch around it. I didn't even think about, Jonathan. Like, you could, I mean, think
That's
about
where the
how
money's
much.
at, right?
Yeah, and we're eating good on Fantastic Four news and Deadpool and Wolverine stuff. Like, we're eating so good on those. But could you imagine if we had to, like, Deadpool Wolverine? We did it last year. Deadpool Wolverine coming out, but then in like 2 months later on, we had a new whatever. Pick a thing. Who cares?
Yeah.
A new Thor coming out. Like, it would feel like the Thor movie wasn't getting the hype it deserves because we've been hyping Deadpool so much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it was like there was a Marvel show, and then it was Loki season 2, and then Ahsoka, and then they were like,
and then
eating each
The
other's
Marvels was
lunch.
in the middle of all that too. Remember that?
Yeah, and then it was right after that. Then we got the Yeah, it was just like not spaced out well. And it's like, as a Marvel fan, you want to dissect especially a Star Wars fan too. You want to dissect everything. You want to be like, what does this mean? What is it? You know, the speculations, the online discourse about where this could go. Like, that's half the fun too. And if you have one thing backed up to the next, it's like you don't even get to do that really. So yeah.
Yeah. I think this adjustment's going to be better for everybody in the long run. There have been definitely, when I put this up on social media, I've got a lot of people coming back. So hold on. I got more people saying that, yes, this is good, quality over quantity. But I did get a lot of people saying, like, just make more Marvel stuff. I just want more Marvel stuff. Like, and I think there is definitely a thing with that. And I think X-Men 97 is kind of proven that, like, we could make more Marvel stuff. It doesn't have to be a movie.
Yeah,
and
right.
X-Men 97 is possibly the best thing Marvel made in 5 years. It's, I mean, I will say up to Endgame, honestly. It's that freaking insanely good. Nice. And so I wear this. It's funny that we bring up the shirt. I've so many times now I've been like, I have other shirts to wear, but like, let me wash that one and wear it again. And then just today I was out and about, and some guy's like, oh, hey, have you been watching that? How are you caught up? I'm like, I know, it's so good. The finale's this Wednesday. Like, it's a conversation starter now. Everybody's excited about X-Men 97. It's fun.
It is, yeah. And that Marvel used to have that. So Bob Iger is 100% right that we need to go to it. And I'm sure Kevin Feige is right there saying, like, hey, you guys are spreading us too thin. So
Yeah.
So talking about the, yes.
Oh, sorry, real quick. While we're on Disney, one thing I wanted to mention, and it was not a premonition that I had, you know, like a prediction I had years ago, but I remember talking about it saying, I hope they do this someday, would be really cool. But now that it's coming true, I'm really worried about it. Sorry, is the new Lion King, the live action Mufasa story. The live action one was pretty much a flop already, right? It wasn't well received. But I remember saying back when that one was first being teased, like, oh, instead of doing this, retelling the same story, they should totally do a Mufasa story that, you know, explains his rise to power. I gotta find that episode, actually, that recording, because I'm pretty sure I even talked about him being like an orphan and, you know, all this stuff, and not having.
You find that, you tell me where it's at, I'll make a clip out of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it was like he didn't have the rights to the throne, but he took it, kind of thing. Like, I mean, it was years ago. Whenever that, I could look it up based on when that Lion King movie first came out. It was around then. But anyway, so I'm really hopeful that this. I mean, because it's fresh content. It's a new story based on something they've already made, but we haven't heard Mufasa's origin story, and the CGI is really good. It's just weird. You can't make a lion smile. It's that. I think it's the uncanny valley we're seeing in animals. I believe it's awkward. But either way, I hope I hope it's good. I don't know.
To touch on that, I do think they did adjust that, Jonathan, because when you watch the trailer for the Mufasa movie, it does look like the lions are more expressive. So that might be something that they addressed there. But that is a great point, that it is a new story that just fits into the old world, which, you know, we saw that with Fallout is a good move. That's definitely a solid point. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm kind of looking forward to it, to be honest with you. I hope it's not too many song and dances. I think The Lion King was such an accurate depiction of the video of the original one, is that we walked out of there kind of like, oh, well, they should have done this different. And it was like, we would have complained if they did. Like, we can't be happy with that because you're messing with the original. So doing something that just like kind of feels like Lion King is probably your safer move.
Yeah. What's crazy though is that first movie did almost make $1 billion, even though
it was very successful. He said flop. I was like, no, super successful, just not
was
well
it?
received.
No, but
Okay. So it made a lot of money. It's just the reviews weren't great for it, but everybody went to go try it out anyways.
So I think at that point you nailed it, because that was the thing. Like, it made a shit ton of money, but a lot of people didn't really like it. And it's like, wow, it's really interesting that they're going for Mufasa. In my sphere, the camp is, why did we need this? Why are we getting this? And I like.
Well, Disney's saying money talks, right? Like, I don't care what your reviews say. If enough people went to go pay for tickets, even after hearing their first reviews, hey, we're making more. Keep it coming.
There you go. Well said. Well said.
And the Mufasa movie was greenlit during Bob Chapek's era, which is the Moon Knight era, which is the Secret Invasion era.
Like, we're getting Agatha. They changed the name again today as
well,
the
I think that's part of a campaign. Just to touch on that, because I almost don't want to even touch on that, because I think they accidentally did it. But I think it's part of a campaign, like they did with Deadpool, where they're just gonna like release a bunch of random things, like a multiverse thing. Because it was the Lying Witch and her Great Wardrobe, or something, the Great Wardrobe. So it's like I could see them doing a bunch of titles that are just kind of like goofy one-offs that have the name Witch in it or something like that.
For sure, it's starting to scream marketing ploy to me, 100%.
Yes, I think.
But
that's what
you're right. Like, and a lot of that thing that got greenlit during that period, I don't think have been really, really well received. So I know a lot of people aren't loving Bob Iger either, but you got to think about what he did during his career. He brought in Star Wars. He brought in Marvel. He made the Fox acquisition go down. So I think Marvel and Disney as a whole is in better hands when it comes to IP that they're going to be building out. Like, way better hands now moving forward.
Absolutely. I'm not cheering for any billionaires, but I will say Iger is better for the company, and I think probably the second most important person to ever work for Walt Disney, except for Mr. Disney himself. He has really steered this, because I remember in the 90s they had all kinds of problems, and that guy left and made DreamWorks and stuff like that, this whole thing. But yeah, I think Bob Iger has really kind of kept that ship big and doing a good job. We're getting a little long in the tooth, so I don't want to dive into it too much, but on our website we have the entire new MCU timeline out, because like Daredevil season 2 took place here in between, whatever. I'm looking at her. What can I say? Jessica Jones season 1 or whatever. So you guys could take a look at that. We talked a little bit about how the Fantastic Four is taking place in the 60s. Will we see them pop up in a old version of our main Marvel universe, or are they coming from another universe and feel the shock of smartphones and stuff like that? What do you guys think?
I think it would be cool to see them in like Howard Stark's, era, and interacting with him a little bit, cameos of him and stuff like that. But yeah, when they change universes, would they go through time also, or just maybe they don't change universes and they just
What if it's like a Fallout universe where they just embrace a different version of technology, so their world feels like the 60s, but it might not technically be the 60s?
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a perfect way to go.
Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah. I mean, I love how they did that in Fallout. I mean, we've seen it in a lot of stuff too. Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, can I throw something? I think it's going to be both. I think that they're going to come from the 60s, but then they're going to go to a retro futuristic universe and then kind of pop back in modern day. Because I think a lot of something that we've missed and something that they need to have, I think, for Marvel moving forward is them to be attached to the main 616 universe. Like if they're from a different universe, it's going to feel a little weird. But the fact that like maybe they're lost in space and they come back and now it's modern day. It's like what we've seen with Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where the astronauts land and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, we've been on Earth the whole time, and like, wait, this is the future. They could totally do that with the Fantastic Four, but they could also go to a really crazy universe where they got stuck for, maybe to them it's been 5 years, but when they come back to 616, it's been 50. You know, like I think they could do that.
Well, and they could leave it a mystery for us too. Like we could see the whole movie. They're battling. It's like, oh my God, we already lost New York. The city's destroyed. They're just, hanging on, trying to save the rebels or whatever, the few people that are left. And at the end of the movie, once they finally defeat Galactus or whoever their big bad is, and then they shift into our timeline, our universe. And it's like, oh crap. The whole time they were actually in a totally different universe that was undergoing all this suffering and stuff like that. That'd be cool.
They could literally recreate the first Captain America.
My only concern is with that is like when we're talking about Avengers, we're talking about they never reference the superhero family from the 60s. You'd think they would mention that, right?
Well, I think they're just astronauts. I think they're literally just astronauts when it comes to the 60s. So it was a space mission. These astronauts left. They never came back. That's it. We wouldn't have heard about it because it's like, why would we? Like, the unsuccessful astronaut mission from the 60s. But that's why I think now they will come back because of whatever happens in the universe or timeline that they're in. And they come back and it's like, oh crap, all this stuff happened? What do you mean? What do you mean the snap? What do you mean, there's a Tiamat rising from the ocean, So I think that it would be really fun to see somebody who's like not just Captain America, the man at a time, but a family at a time.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely love that idea, especially with like,
that makes a lot
what
of
if they
sense.
got a distress call from space, and it's somebody warning them that like, hey, Galactus is coming or whatever. So they go up there to meet him, and whatever happens there, whatever. But then they come back. I like this idea all of a sudden because I thought there's no way they could be from R616, or I guess it's not 616 for the MCU, but whatever, you know what I'm talking about. That's a really cool idea. Is the idea that like they didn't have their powers beforehand, they get them up there. I like that.
Yeah. They literally could use the Planet of the Apes logic that we've seen in the movies.
I'm so high on Planet of the Apes, guys. Actually, let's go ahead and we'll skip some of the things we had planned just because we are getting a little long. I want to get right into our review section then. And let's talk about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So, Thomas, you had a chance to watch it this weekend, and I'd like to hear your spoiler-free thoughts on this movie.
I did. Yeah, it was a really good movie. We watched Rise of the Planet of the Apes for Challenge Accepted, and I love that movie. I think that's a great movie. I even think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is also a great movie. IMDb, if you look at them, kind of rank both of them evenly. War is when it starts to fall off a little bit, but I really like how it concluded that trilogy. For me, this movie is on the same par as War.
Which isn't terrible. It's still like a worthy watch. It's just that it's not like epic, Yeah.
Yeah, and there are epic moments, but it's new characters. I think it's like 200 or 300 years in the future from what we saw with Caesar. So it's a whole new set of apes. The society, you can see this from the trailers, has splintered off into different clans. And we're trying to follow this new clan. And, they've kind of even forgot that humans exist. So it's good. It builds out the world even more. But I found myself kind of really loving what the original trilogy did and kind of missing that. And they do reference Caesar and everything, but I wasn't as attached to some of these characters as much as I wanted to be. Or the other side to it is that I don't think the story was as clear as I wanted it to be.
So, do you feel like this movie stands on its own, or is it too dependent on being in a trilogy?
I think it is dependent on being in the trilogy because of the way it starts and the way that characters are introduced. They're very referential to Caesar. You'll find out their relationships when you watch the movie, but you have to know the basis of Caesar. I think from the Matt Reeves version to really understand it.
So, okay, no spoilers, but what I'm presuming you mean is that they see Caesar as a founder or a demigod or whatever, and he probably has bloodlines that are important. Then, like, I come from the Caesar line type of thing. Is that Is that kind of mentioned?
Possibly.
Okay, so that's
I'm not gonna give that away, but Caesar is like such a historical figure that everybody knows of him.
So the 2001 Planet of the Apes did the same thing. They used Caesar as a god to them, and we're like, the idea was that the royal family came from Caesar in the 2001 version of it. So that's cool that they kind of use that again. I like that.
Yeah.
So one question too, is there not a character that you can really relate with? Because that's one thing I liked in the first two. I didn't see the third one either, the war, but that, there's still some humanity there enough that one of the leading characters you can relate with as a human in this world that's being overrun by apes. Nice. But it seems like at this point, there's very few humans. The ones that are left are, barbaric and can't speak and things like that. So is there not like a character that you can see yourself in the show or in the movie?
Yeah, great question. I actually think there is definitely characters I feel like I could relate to, but when it came to the end and more is revealed about who these characters were, like their motivations, you're like, wait, why are they doing this? And some of those thoughts started popping into my head. And I think anytime I start doing that, where I start asking more questions and like questions start stacking on questions, then for me it goes from a great movie to like a good movie. And sometimes it's great because it makes you think, like Dune 2. But this, I found myself confused. And I felt less confused in some ways than watching Inception or like The Prestige, you know, and I'm like, why, you know, it just didn't make sense to me. And so I think that's why I didn't quite love it, but it also felt like it had the difficult task of setting up the future of the franchise. Like it didn't feel like it could just stand alone and be a great movie. It was like, oh, I see that they're leading into another movie or a sequel after that. You know what I mean?
That's one thing that we've heard is that this is going to be the first in basically 5 more movies coming up. There's going to be this trilogy and then an additional trilogy. So they clearly have big plans. How close do you feel like this movie gets to the old 70s and 60s movies?
There definitely is a ton of references for it, and you know, because you've watched a lot of, I think, the original movies. I have, but it's been so long since I remembered. I think it plays fast and loose with the original, like from the 60s/70s. It's directly tied to the ones that we saw in the early 2000s, but I think it's kind of maybe pointing us in that direction where we would get the 60s and 70s. There's a lot of those references, but it's not explicit. And you're like, with this, it still feels so far away from that you're like, they're gonna have to do a crap ton of work to get there.
Okay. So yeah, this is 300 years in the future from our last movie, and it sounds like we still have a ways to go for the next one. So maybe in the next trilogy and then the trilogy after this, maybe there'll be another time jump in between those 2 trilogies.
Yeah, even if there's not a time jump, like there's a ton they can do with it. It just felt like, oh, this whole movie was a setup for the next movie in some ways. And it's still really well done. Like the ape characters, fantastic. Even the girl that does her job or plays the human is fantastic too. But I was her motivations are cloudy towards the end, I will say. Like I never felt like I got enough of an answer for I was like, oh wow, that was really well done.
That seems to be a through line, is the fact that motivations are not clear.
For me, and I see a ton of people say like, man, this movie's amazing, it's incredible. Like, you know how Dune 2 was a little bit like, where are they going? It's a little in the gray if he's a good guy or bad guy or whatever, right? This is in the gray too. I just don't know, like, why. Like, did she learn? I don't know. I think it's too spoilery. But
for Dune 2, that was on purpose. You were supposed to feel conflicted about rooting for Atreides this whole time. For Paul, is that the case with this? Do you feel like it was on purpose that they left you clouded, or if that was just like bad writing?
No, so for one character, I think that it was supposed to be on purpose, but I do feel like this has a writing story issue, at least in the 3rd act for me.
Okay.
But again, visuals, acting, action, all phenomenal. I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing on this movie because I think there's so many good things about it. It's just, there's this weird sticking point in the writing for me at the end.
One of the things that this is changing topics a little bit just to the greater scheme of the franchise. IGN put out an article. I didn't want to read it because I didn't want to influence my thoughts tonight. But they were saying, like, why is Planet of the Apes such a great franchise in comparison to, like, the MCU and stuff like that? We always talk about the MCU and DCU. And immediately I thought about it's like, oh, because the stories are way smaller. And the fact that, like, maybe, like, War of the Planet, or Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is such a great example. San Francisco's trying to get power on, so they need to use this dam, and they butt heads with the nearby Caesar and his tribe. That's so small. Like, the ramifications of the starting of this war between humans and apes, but that's generally it. And then even with War, it's like, we need to get these apes out of this prison, and then we're going to move to Nevada. Meanwhile, you assume that that kind of thing's happening everywhere in the world. Do you feel like, first off, is that the case to you? And do you feel like that is something that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is carrying forward?
I mean, I completely agree, and I think this is the movie that changes that.
Oh no! It's like global. It's like a bigger problem. Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's global or a bigger problem, but it is trying to open the door. Like, I know that was a complaint for people when they saw the last movie, which was War of the Planet of the Apes. They're like, this is barely a war. This is like one battle. Like, this is just like human versus like a few clans of apes. Like, that's not a war. This is saying there is a larger world out there that we haven't been introduced to, and this movie is introducing it.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of like in the old movies too. Like the second one was the one where they were like, oh yeah, you know how you dealt with this one village of apes? Well, there's a nuclear bomb that's going to go off and it literally destroys the planet. And it was like, oh wow, this went global real so fast. But then they brought it back into like, okay. Interesting. What would you grade this movie?
So for me, again, I don't
Sport.
want it to sound like I bashed it because I
Yeah, no,
really
it's your
did
honest
like
thoughts.
it.
Yeah.
But it's probably a 7 out of 10, or I'd
Okay.
say a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Like, yeah, there's a lot to love about it, and man, the visuals are phenomenal. There's like moments where I'm like, God, those look like real apes. Like, I can't
Yeah.
believe that's just mocap and CGI. It is wild how good it is, and like for the visual loans, I think it's worth the price of admission. But from a story, and the actors are great too. The actors are all phenomenal. But from a story perspective, is like, I'm so big on story and like how it all works out. I
Yeah.
just wasn't as impressed as I was with the original 3 movies.
Okay. I'm definitely still going to give it a watch and make sure to check it out and everything like that. As you know, I went and watched all the old movies beforehand again. But yeah, it sounds like there's definitely something there that's still good, but something to keep in mind. Okay.
Yeah. Now, granted, another movie comes out. This movie could be shot way up.
Yeah. It sounds like it's dependent on that other movie a little bit, so that makes sense. Let us know on social media, guys, threads, and we keep pushing threads because I'm having a lot of fun over there. What your guys' thoughts on this movie was. I'll have the full write-up of the review later on this week, so you guys can check that out as well. I wanted to give a quick review. I was noticing, like, man, it's been a while since we reviewed a video game around here. We've been busy, and there really hasn't been any new games that we cared about. I mean, everybody's basically still playing Helldivers 2. And so I was like, let me pick up a brand new game, just find one, an indie, it's fine. So I found this one called Rusty's Retirement, and it's kind of growing in it's like starting to trend a little bit, right? What's cool about this game is it's a little farming game. It's all pixel art, beautiful little pixel art. The feature about this game that makes it so amazing is it only takes 1/4 of your screen. So it's either on the bottom or on the side, and I have it on the side and I have it on my third monitor over here. And you set up a farm to grow crops, and you have robots that can do like watering and stuff like that. You have to do the planting yourself, the planting, until like late game you can get a robot that'll do that part for you too. So you plant things and you let them grow. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there working on social media or I'm editing a podcast or whatever. And I go check to see how the crops are doing. Okay, they're doing good. Or generally, if it's most people play it on the bottom of the screen. So they're like doing their work up here. And then on the bottom, they see a little farmer doing crops and stuff like that. And as you progress through the game, this is called an idle game. That play style, by the way, people are familiar with that. You are basically making it to where like you get more robots that maybe do things faster, and so you produce more. So it starts to scale up pretty quickly, but so does the time it takes for things to go. And that's when the game really unlocks, in my opinion, is about an hour and a half in. I mean, it's hard because it's idle, so it could be even more hours. But then it's like the crops I'm doing right now, for example, take an hour to farm. So it's just sitting there farming for an hour. They're watering it and stuff like that. And I'm just checking them on them and stuff like that. It's been a lot of fun. It's some of the most beautiful little pixel art. I love good pixel art. And so I wrote a full review for this too, but it's over on our website. But I really suggest you guys check it out. It was like $6 for this game, guys. So cheap. Yeah.
Wow. So I mean, it also kind of sounds relaxing too. Like you just
It
put it
was,
on, and you're
yeah.
like, "Let me see what happens," and you're like, "Wow, look at my crops."
Yeah, it has a little lo-fi, beautiful little cute little soundtrack. I have eventually turned that down so I can be listening to WAP and stuff like that. But
The Drake and
yeah.
Kendrick beef or something.
oh my god, I can't even tell you how many times I've stopped on a TikTok just to try to learn more about this beef because I don't know all the details. I just know some of the things have been thrown out, but I don't know all the details of it. It's a mystery to me. But yeah. It's definitely worth it. I ended up giving it a 9 out of 10 after doing a few hours on that and really learning more about it. But it's totally worth it. I'm also playing a little bit of Mana Lord. I will have a review for that one probably in a week or so when I'm get a little further in the game. I got my ass destroyed in that game, so I'm like, well, starting again. So I'll let you know on that one too.
Right on.
All right. As a reminder, before we get into our pop quiz for Jonathan, we have the watch party this Friday at 6:00. You're going to join our Discord for that. We're going to be watching X-Men 97, the finale. And then we have the giveaway. Check out our social media posts. It'll be posted the same day as this episode. I'm sorry, that's not the giveaway for it. That's for the mug. Hopefully Jonathan wins that. But for the patrons, even a $1 member, you're entered in to win the giveaway for the brand new microphone. All right, John, are you ready for this?
I think so. We'll see.
Okay. So some of this is gonna be based off the notes because we skipped a few things, but we'll should be fine. But don't cheat by looking at the notes. Which actor has joined the cast of DC's Peacemaker for season 2 as Rick Flag Sr.?
Frank Grillo.
Nice job. He's got the first one, guys.
Yeah, Grillo.
That's okay. That's all right. You got one.
Espanol version.
All right.
When is season 2? I'm sorry. When is season 3 of The Bear returning?
Something was June 27th. Was it that?
Yep, June 27th. He's got 2 so far, guys.
Nice.
Yes.
We didn't mention this one.
Conditioning of my brain.
Yeah. We didn't mention this one, but I know you probably read it through the notes. Which actress is set to star in the upcoming series Blade Runner 2099 for Prime Video? I can give you multiple choice if you need it.
Yes.
Okay. A, Michelle Yeoh. B, Scarlett Johansson. C, Charlize Theron. Or D, Zendaya.
Definitely Michelle Yeoh.
Damn it, he's got 3 guys.
Yeah.
We might be giving away a mug. Also, just from the notes, but this is actually a really good way to kind of recap things that we didn't get to mention. What is the title of the new Lord of the Rings film that was announced by Warner Brothers?
Oh, the Hunt for Golem or the Search for Golem?
Y'all, The Hunt for Golem is it.
The Hunt for Golem.
Nice.
He just has to get one more correct. This is going to be a tough one, too. Name one video game that was entered into the Hall of Fame this year.
Oh, God.
It's not directly in the notes. You had to read the article that's linked in the notes.
Then I have no idea. I'm going to guess because you're talking about everyone's playing it. Maybe Helldiver 2?
No. Stop, Jonathan. Stop thinking about this.
Okay.
It's the Hall of Fame, not like the game that's famous this year. The Hall of Fame of games, they got entered this year. I'll give you another shot on that one because that was,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you give me multiple choice on this one too?
No, because you just have to name one of the 5 that got introduced.
One of the 5.
Would you guys have talked about this at CCS or
No.
at the other con? No? Okay. I have no idea either. That's why I could not tell you one.
That's been entered into the Hall of Fame, so it's got to be like iconic for generations, not just something that was hot last year.
All right, I'll go to a different one. I got another question for you, Jonathan.
Okay.
And if you come up with the answer for this one, I'll send out 2 mugs. But let's go to a different one then.
Wow.
Who has been revealed to be Galactus in the upcoming Fantastic Four film?
Oh gosh, it was his last name. I don't remember the first name at all. Oh no, first name was Frank, right? And then it was Enegus or something like that. No, it wasn't even Frank, was it?
You want multiple choice, Jonathan? You
Yeah.
can pick and give away a
There you
mug,
go.
aren't you?
It's so close.
Okay, so it's either A, John Malkovich, B, Ralph Ineson, C, Frank Grillo, or D, David Cornsweet.
B. I don't remember.
Ralph Ineson.
Ineson.
We
Okay.
are giving away a mug, guys. Jonathan nailed it. I love how it's names that we've all been mentioning too. That was good. That was
Right.
good.
In my head, I could see like the spelling of Einstein. I just couldn't remember.
It's
how
a,
to
it's,
say it.
it's a tough
Yeah.
one. That's a tough name for sure. All right,
Plus, I have
guys. So
terrible memory, so this was good practice.
Dude, you crushed
head
it,
over to our
man.
social media. We're giving away one of our mugs. It's the Hawkman mug, which is my personal favorite mug that we've made. So check that out, guys. We're gonna give it away. We'll just do it based off of retweets. I think that's fair. But yeah, good job, Jonathan. He gave everybody a mug. That was pretty freaking cool.
Nice. Well done,
Yeah.
man. Well done.
Gotta do this
All right,
more.
guys. Thank you so much for joining us for Geek Freaks. I am so happy to be back in the studio. It feels good to be back. And we'll see you guys. We have a new interview coming out. Oh, no, we don't have an interview this week because we had to reschedule. So I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
All right, bye.
Aloha.